Mental health is a lifelong process of successful adaptation to a changing internal and external environment. The individual is in contact with reality and the environment and possesses the ability to love, work, and resolve conflicts within a framework of reasonability. The individual has psychobiological resilience. Description: psychiatric illness is the loss of the ability to respond to the environment in ways that are in accord with oneself or the expectations of society. Psychiatric illness is characterized by thought or behavior patterns that impair functioning and cause the individual distress. Personal characteristics. 1. A person is unaccepting of self and dislikes self. 2. Person has an unrealistic perception of strengths and weaknesses. 3. Thoughts and perceptions may not be reality-based. 4. Person is unable to find meaning and purpose in life. 5. Person lacks direction and productivity in life. 6. Person has difficulty in meeting own needs. 7. Person depends on others for thoughts and actions. Adaptations to stress. 1. Person feels out of control with self and with the environment. 2. Person has a negative perception of the environment. 3. Person has ineffective coping mechanisms. Interpersonal relationships. Person is unable to love and care for others. Person is unable to feel loved by others or accept feelings from others. Coping and defense mechanisms. Coping involves any effort to decrease the stress response. Coping mechanisms can be constructive or destructive, task-oriented in relation to direct problem solving, or defense-oriented, regulating the response to protect oneself. Destructive coping mechanisms often cause a mental health disorder because the person avoids the problem that causes the disorder. Neurotic or psychotic behaviors typically can result when coping mechanisms become destructive. Defense mechanisms. A defense mechanism is a coping mechanism, protective defense of the ego that attempts to protect the individual from feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness, and to prevent awareness of anxiety. When anxiety is too painful, the individual copes by using defense mechanisms to protect the ego and decrease anxiety. Interventions. Assess the person's use of the defense mechanism. Determine whether the use of the defense mechanism characterizes unhealthy adjustment. Facilitate appropriate use of defense mechanisms. Avoid criticizing the behavior and the use of defense mechanisms. Assist the person in identifying the source of the anxiety. Assist the person in exploring the methods to reduce anxiety. Types of defense mechanisms. Compensation. Putting forth extra effort to achieve in areas where one has real or imagined deficiency. Conversion. The expression of emotional conflicts through physical symptoms. Denial. Disowning consciously intolerable thoughts and impulses. Displacement. Feelings toward one person are directed to another who is less threatening, thereby satisfying an impulse with a substitute object. Disassociation, the blocking off of an anxiety-provoking event or period of time from the conscious mind. Fantasy, gratification by imaginary achievements and wishful thinking. Fixation, never advancing to the next level of emotional development and organization. The persistence in later life of interests and behavior patterns appropriate to an earlier age. Identification, the unconscious attempt to change oneself to resemble an admired person. Insulation, withdrawing into passivity and becoming inaccessible so as to avoid further threatening situations. Intellectualization, excessive reasoning to avoid feeling. The thinking is disconnected from feelings, and situations are dealt with at a cognitive level. Introjection, a type of identification in which the individual incorporates the traits or values of another into self. Isolation, response in which a person blocks feelings associated with an unpleasant experience. Projection, transferring one's internal feelings, thoughts, and unacceptable ideas and traits to someone else. Rationalization, an attempt to make unacceptable feelings and behavior acceptable by justifying the behavior. Reaction formation, developing conscious attitudes and behaviors and acting out behaviors opposite to what one really feels. Regression, returning to an earlier developmental stage to express an impulse to deal with reality. Repression, an unconscious process in which the client blocks undesirable and unacceptable thoughts from the conscious mind or expression. Sublimation, replacement of an unacceptable need, attitude, or emotion with one or more socially acceptable. Substitution, the replacement of a valued unacceptable object with an object that is more acceptable to the ego. Suppression, the conscious deliberate forgetting of unacceptable or painful thoughts, ideas, and feelings. Symbolization, the conscious use of an idea or object to represent another actual event or object. Many times the meaning is not clear because the symbol may be representative of something unconscious. Undoing, engaging in behavior that is considered to be opposite of a previous unacceptable behavior, thought, or feeling.